Thokozani Hotep Royals, Thokozani family. Thokozani, how is everyone doing? Thokozani. How is everybody doing? Thokozani family, Hotep, Thokozani, the usual suspects. Yebo, thank you. I see the little hearts. That means everybody can hear me correct. Everybody hears me well. How is everyone doing? Thokozani, I see you, Alicia. I see you guys. I see Loving Life. Thank you. Please tap the screen. Let's get up in the algorithm. Let's tap the screen, get up in the algorithm, and then I will get right into it. You can see I'm beaming. I'm just, I'm beaming because I'm just on a high. I'm super happy. I am so happy. I'm just so happy. You know, there's some things about my work that you cannot quantify. The amount of joy that I get throughout my day. And yesterday, I want to share something with you guys because this totally moved me. I was sort of laughing, half crying, half laughing, all at once, right? The paradox of life, being able to hold different emotions simultaneously. That's the beauty of being human. So yesterday, and I know that this beautiful queen, will not mind me sharing this story because I had such an exquisite encounter yesterday in a consultation that I had. By the way, this is not what the teaching is about, but I have to share with you guys. Like, look at me. I have to share. And so this consultation was with a queen from the Fiji Islands. And I think when she booked her consultation, like I have no clue who's who until we actually meet. And when she booked the consultation and we kind of exchanged a couple of voice notes, she had a real Australian accent. And the Australian accent, I was like, I said to my assistant, I said, what if this is somebody who's one of the kneeless ones? Like, it's not going to work out. So I didn't tell her this because when she came on, I was too stunned to speak because what I was expecting and who came on the consultation were totally different. If it had been somebody kneeless, we would have just said, you know what, this will not work, has never worked, and will never work. I should tell you my couple of encounters with trying to consult, those others and what happened. Like really, and I've never ever dared to try that mess again. So when she came on, here's before me this goddess, beautiful skin, and she has this beautiful afro. And I'm like, oh my daughter, this is not who I expected to see. It was such a pleasant surprise, but also I think for me, more than anything, was when we started talking and she started sharing her family history and the connection that the Fiji Islands have with Africa. And, we always talk about how as melanated beings, we populated the world before anybody else ever did. And we say these things and, some of us have done so much work over the years that shows and proves this. But when you actually encounter somebody of that particular bloodline or lineage, I don't know what happened. I just was so thrilled because I was staring and I was laughing. And these islands were called also the Polynesian Islands. But then there's some of them, I think they call Melanesia, from melanin, Melanesia. I was stunned. And we got talking, we did what we needed to do with the consultation. And she made this connection because she gave her history to get to where she is with ancient Kemet now. And she explained how one of the Ramesses, and I need to get the details from her because it's really fascinating. So one of the pharaohs, I don't know which Ramesses the first, I think there's the first, the second, and the third. I don't know which one. Actually, one of his queens was from one of these Melanesian islands. So again, it was just like thrills. I kept getting chills down my spine because it was like, wow, we really are who we think we are. Do you know? In fact, we really are who we know and we say we are. It was the most beautiful thing. But here was the icing on the cake for me. She talked about how she bought the African calendar, she bought the calendar. But what was fascinating is how her entire family, now she's my age, now her family, her mom, her dad, I think her sisters, had all exited that religion that starts with C, because they had all realized that it was nothing. And they were, when she interfaced with me and my teachings on the ancestors, they as a family were at that crossroads of saying, okay, we've exited this, where to now? And then so she said she bought the calendar, and they bought a big wall calendar as well. And we have the other calendar, the daily calendar, which is kind of like a planner. And so she's telling me all this, and she's telling me how her father is now going to make a journey to what was known as Tanganyika, which is Tanzania, which is really where they originated and moved outward to the Melanesian / Polynesian islands. Guys, like my work is delicious, okay? You cannot put a dollar value on the way I feel when such encounters happen. So I want to say to all those who always somehow come back and let me know how the work has affected them, how the work has changed their life, I want to say a big thank you. You validate our work. And when I say our work, I'm going to speak on behalf of spiritualists who really are doing this work from a place of being called. You validate our work and you validate our place in the world, and you make us realize that no matter how tired we get, no matter whatever is going on in our own personal lives that we have to set aside on behalf of the collective, you make it also worth it when you come back and you're able to say, Mkulu, this happened and this has happened. Mkulu, I had this epiphany. And I try by all means to always respond to anyone who inboxes or messages me just to say, Mkulu, guess what? I had a light bulb moment with something you said. So that having been said, I just wanted to share with you. She promised that she was going to send me a picture with her entire family, with the calendar. And what moved me also was her parents are elderly. And we know that for a lot of our elders, it is very difficult to move from that other religion. A lot of things that keep them stuck, many of them, is this thing of, when I pass on, who's going to bury me? Or when I pass on, who's going to perform my burial rites? Or I've lived in this for so long, I am too old to learn anything new. Some of it is sheer fear of, okay, if now I abandon this, what if there is a hell? What if there is a heaven and I forfeit that because I've moved away? So around our elders is a lot of fear-based stuckness, if you know what I mean. It's almost like the fear paralyzes them to stay where they are, even when deep down they now know that this isn't working. So I'm just so grateful for the fact that an entire family has had a great awakening. Guys, this doesn't happen every day. because most people are really on their own, and they're usually younger, and they're usually fighting, or if not fighting, they're usually coming against resistance from their elders. This was not the case. This was not the case. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, and leading right on in, because this particular video is also part of the Ancestor series. I think this is going to be part 7. And I had promised that I would come back and talk about what I will call spiritual currency, for lack of a better term. I don't know what else to call it. Except spiritual currency, because I think that'll make it more understandable. So I wanted to talk about the different offerings and the different things, if you like, that we do for our ancestors, what they mean, what they achieve, and so on and so forth. So I thought I would start with something very simple. We talked about your connection tools, right? We talked about our connection tools. Then we talked about the smoke signal, which represents the wind. So earth, and then the wind, and then your candle, which represents fire. And also your candle, depending on the color, especially the white candle. The white candle works very much like the quartz crystal in that it augments or magnifies whatever it is that you are doing. So if you are partnering with a white candle, you are augmenting your mpahlo. You're bringing further light into whatever it is you're talking to. So it works like the quartz crystal in terms of you can take a quartz crystal and put it next to, say, the amethyst, and it will augment or increase or boost, if you like, the power and the potency of the amethyst crystal, which we know, of course, is what is used for your third eye, right? So I just wanted to explain. So those are your basic connection tools. So we've got water, we've got your candle, we've got your earth thing, which I can't say SNUFF, or the other one, TOBACCO. I can't say them because they'll block me, right? They'll say that I'm trying to sell illicit things. And then, what's the fourth one? The air, which is either you burn impepo, you burn sage, or you can burn Palo Santo, or you can burn an incense stick. Right, that's your 4 elements represented. That's your altar ready for you to start your communication with your ancestors, right? That's your basic communication. I think in the last couple of ones, you might have heard me say, right, now, there is what we call pouring libation, right? Pouring libation, which means you make an offering. That offering could be your spirits. I'm going to call them spirits because if I say that A word, we get into trouble. It could be a home brew, traditional brew that people use. It could be, what else do people offer? It could be foods, ancient grains. It could be sweet potato. It could be fruit. It could be bananas. Most of those offerings, when we're talking about your bloodline ancestors, now I'm not talking about your other spirits that you might work with if you are ancestrally gifted. I'm talking about your bloodline ancestors here. That kind of offering is an offering which we usually do more like a simple Thanksgiving. A very simple Thanksgiving that you can do maybe, 3 or 4 times a year. Sometimes you'll feel a call to put something on the altar like that. You might put some candy, some sweets for the baby spirits. We talked about the child spirits before. So you might accommodate them by putting, cut up oranges, put some honey there, cut up some fruit. I want to say this because it's very important. A lot of people put things on the altar in their packets. My question to you is, do you eat your food in its packets? I'm just asking for a friend. Like, spirits don't eat the way we do. However, the essence or the smells of these offerings, Remember, spirit is air. So when you get the smells or the essence into the air, like an orange, you leave an orange there, okay. But if you cut an orange and you open it and you leave it open for a few hours, or a banana, when you walk around, you start to smell the banana. That is how we do our offerings. So, yes, do the spirits, they are conscious, they are aware, they see what you do, but you increase the potency of what you're doing by opening these things up for them and making that as an offering. So that is what I would call a simple offering, right? Now, I'm talking about spiritual currency. So I'm taking it up a notch, right? We've done the basics for communication, right, on your altar. Now we've talked about a basic, simple thank you. We've talked about that. Something you can do, every 3 months. I like to do every quarter as we change season, if you like, because again, it's just being aligned with nature. Then there is what I call in terms of spiritual currency, the highest currency of all, which is the sacrificing of an animal, right? Now, even in that sacrificing of an animal, there is also a hierarchy. Let's start off with the chicken. Okay, the chicken is kind of the basics. And you can use that in terms of Thanksgiving. A lot of people, when they do iladi or that basic Thanksgiving, they will generally also make sure that they have a male and a female chicken also kind of slaughtered to say thank you, right? And when you are doing that kind of slaughtering, it is for the ancestors, not that you're slaughtering for your own kitchen to eat. Those chickens will eventually get eaten, by the way, but they are as an offering. Then the family gets to partake once it's been cooked. But when you are doing the process of actually slaughtering, you have to say that may the spirit of this animal be an acceptable offering, and may the spirit of this animal not be in vain as we slaughter, so that we give thanks to you. Do you understand? You make it known that it is for them that you are doing this. And so the highest in the spiritual currency realm is blood, the blood, right? You simply letting it into the soil, because slaughtering happens outside. If for those who have a place like an outside altar, this is where that happens. And then, of course, when you're done, you take that in and it gets cleaned up nicely the way we do the African way. And then you cook, you lay it on the altar for just a while, as again to show them that this is for you. And then it gets taken and it gets cooked and everybody in the family eats it. Different traditions do things differently. Usually when it is an animal that has been slaughtered for the ancestors, there's a way of preparing it that is very different from the way you might prepare your daily chicken. Some people opt not to do too many spices and things like that are kind of foreign. But a lot of people don't mind, and there's been no repercussions for them turning it and making a chicken curry, for example. Do you see what I'm saying? And even after you've done that and you've cooked, you take some of it and you go and you put it at the altar. Some people prefer to do it the old ancient way, which is that you just cook it and then you just add salt, and then that's that. I know that in the Karanga tradition, you don't salt ancestral meat. Right? You don't salt an ancestral offering. The Karanga people, you simply have it and then it's cooked or roasted or whatever you do, and then you place it, but you don't salt it. Very interesting. So I just wanted to give you nuances so that I'm giving you basics, and so there's no one size fits all. And some people might say, well, will the ancestor reject it any other way? No, my experience has shown me that they don't. It's your intention that matters, and the fact that you're doing this from the heart and you're trying to show them how grateful you are. Most of those types of Thanksgiving are happening at the end of our African calendar year. So that would be what we'd say going in August, September. Some people will even do it in September and into the new year to say thank you for the previous year. But that is the time between August and going all the way till December. That is usually the time that people are doing those kind of things. And maybe December's too far. Maybe let's say September, October, maybe, up until November. This is when people do those kind of Thanksgivings, right? That is different from the kind of rituals you do for your ancestor when you're trying to bring the ancestor or elevate the ancestor and bring them home after they have transitioned. This usually happens a year after transition, and it too uses animal sacrifice. But the point with this one is the timing has to be right, and December is really not the time to be doing that. And a lot of people sometimes do it in August. I'm telling you this so that I stress to you how timing is crucial for how we do these things. And maybe when we go in and we start to look at the calendar and these different times, I will reiterate for you again at what times of the year you do certain ceremonies for your bloodline ancestors and why we do it at that time. For the purposes of this, I just wanted to keep it at this spiritual currency we're talking about. So now we've talked about the chicken. Let's come and let's talk about the goat. I always laugh when I think about the goat because of a video I once did where some Christian person provoked me, and I literally took pages out of a Bible and I chewed them and spat them out and went because she quoted some scripture about how Christ knows his lambs and he will come to separate his lambs from the goats. And the goats, we are the goats who are going to go to Hell. I just felt so provoked by that thing. I was like, let me do something silly. And I did. So anytime I say goat, and it reminds me of that. So now that, again, when we talk about spiritual currency, and slaughtering, the goat is the next after the chicken. We'd put the goat and the sheep in that same space. And again, those are usually done again for Thanksgiving. But they are also done for correction of wrongs. So if there is a ritual that you need to do to make amends and to atone, we don't do that in African spirituality with just your mouth. You have to demonstrate that. Spirituality is active. You have to demonstrate that by making some sort of sacrifice to show that you are uyashweleza. In other words, you are coming to atone, to say sorry. The same way that if somebody does something wrong in someone else's homestead, usually you are fined or you go to apologize, not just with your mouth, but usually with a goat or two, whatever it is that family then asks of you. So that's number 2. Then we have the cow. Now, most people, and I won't say most people, the cow, of course, cows are very expensive, like cattle are expensive. And so, for those with the means, they will slaughter once a year for their ancestors, to thank them for the gifts, to thank them for life, to thank them for good health, and just generally for the family to come together for a huge Thanksgiving to the ancestors. Some families cannot afford that, so they will do a goat or they will do several chickens. It's all acceptable based on what is going on in your pocket, right? I don't believe one bit. I don't agree with the idea that your ancestors expect you to go into debt in order to please them. I don't, that doesn't make sense to me, how your own parents can expect you to go into debt in order to please them. Doesn't make sense, right? So my thinking is that for every family, there are means, there are people who can afford to do more, there are people who can't afford to do more. And I think your ancestors are just perfectly content and satisfied, and they find joy and pleasure when you do what you can do within your means. Now, there's a caveat to that, because some of y'all will act like when it comes to your ancestors, you're very stingy. You're very stingy. But by the same token, you can go and purchase a Louis Vuitton purse for $15,000. Now, see, when you start doing that, then you're being disingenuous. And I've told you, your ancestors are spirits of highest intelligence. You can't do them like that. You will do something like that. Again, intention is everything. When I do my rituals and my ceremonies, I like to feel it in my pocket a little bit. Why? Because of that word, sacrifice. I want to feel it a little bit in my pocket. I want to feel that I've made some effort for this. Even if it means I have to set aside a little bit a month, each month to make it. But I must feel the pinch somewhere. Not that I will go into debt, but I want it to be something that is coming from a place of saying, you matter to me. Our relationship is important. Our communication is important. And therefore, I realize what you do for me. I realize how you are there for me. I'm sharing with you. And guys, I would say sacrifice is, the meaning of the word sacrifice is implicit in the word. It is no longer a sacrifice if you don't feel it in your pocket. So going by a grocery store and saying, you know what, let me pick up just a couple of oranges, maybe 2 bananas, maybe this, very lackadaisical, nothing. You're not even 300 or 200% there even as you're picking the fruit. I'd say that's insultive. If I was an ancestor, I'd be like, okay, she's just doing this she's just doing this in a mechanical sort of way. There's no even excitement about the fact that I want to do this for my ancestors. I'm going to lay this out and I'm going to make this beautiful, and none of that. Some people like to even buy flowers. I think that's such a beautiful gesture. Some people might say, in African spirituality, there was no buying of imbali. Well, listen, we are here and we are now. It's your intention. If you beautify their space or their altar with some flowers, nothing wrong with that. And they can never be against that. I don't care what century they come from. The thing about many of us is we really don't know the kind of lives our ancestors live. We imagine the lives they lived were a life of poverty and penury. Some people carry these higher order ancestors from way back when we still rocked linen, we still rocked silk, and isasiwudlu cotton. Like, I'm trying to tell you all. So stop limiting your own ancestors based on your limited experience of who this entourage is and what they may or may not like. Do you see what I'm saying? And don't allow the things you're hearing on social media or people saying, what kind of spirit is going to like champagne? Well, who says that there are spirits who don't? Who says that in my entourage somewhere somebody won't like this bubbly stuff? Most people who have the means go out of their way to get expensive stuff for their ancestors simply because that's how they're going to feel it in the pocket. And that is how they are expressing their joy and their gratitude to these ancestors. No need to judge. If your ancestors don't like such things and they've come down and told you, hey, stop putting that Glenfiddich on my altar, so be it. My ancestors loved Glenfiddich. My dad loved Glenfiddich. So do I put premium scotch over there? Yeah, absolutely, because my dad, who's now an ancestor, likes that stuff. Do you guys get where I'm going with this? Don't allow what other people are doing and saying to influence how you feel and what comes up for you when it comes to your entourage. So I wanted to just share this little bit with you guys so that you understand. So when it comes to now, I want to talk about this most premium of the spiritual currencies, which is the blood, of course, which comes with the animal and the animal's spirit. I said this can be used in Thanksgiving, right? But we also do a lot of, we do slaughtering also around making amends, atonement. We also do slaughtering around cleansings, particularly where we are talking about cleansing the ancestors that move with you. We tend to use certain parts of these animals, including just a little bit of the blood, but the bile is of high frequency. It's a high frequency, high like spiritual currency in terms of cleansings, in terms of aligning you with your ancestors. Bile is also used in marriage. It is the thing that seals the union of ancestors from one person and the union of ancestors from another. It is the bile that is used to receive a bride into a new household so that she's acceptable to the ancestors. So those are some of the uses of sacrificing, animals in ceremonies and in rituals that I wanted you guys to understand, because I know that it's particularly people in the diaspora may not understand this. What's with all the slaughtering? Some of you guys say you're vegan, some you're vegetarian. And so how am I supposed to do any of this? Well, most people in the diaspora are not going to be able to slaughter anyway, because you heard what the drum said about the Haitians who are killing people's pets. You guys heard about the drum saying that, was it the Haitians? Who was it? He was saying they are slaughtering people's pets. They are eating people's animals. Never forget that. And the Haitians were very upset. So we cannot slaughter out here. So you're limited there. But in the event that you take a visit, say, to Africa, and you want to do such a Thanksgiving, it's always good to know. And maybe there might not be people out there telling you, but so again, like I said, where are these things done mostly by healers like myself, right? When I am home, right, I will take people for a cleanse. We do our slaughtering there. We get the bits that we need. We mix with herbs, and then we're cleansing you of dark energies, of hexes, of whatever. But we're also cleansing the ancestors you walk with, because most times they too, particularly if you're ancestrally gifted, they too carry spiritual debris, and we are getting rid of all the other opportunistic spirits that are like, I want to be aligned here because it looks like we're going to eat good over here. If I stick around this crew, I think I'm going to be good. So you want to get rid of anything that is not bloodline related. So we cleanse them too by removing any what I call opportunistic spirits, right? There are many uses in terms of this high what did I call it? High spiritual currency, the highest spiritual currency, which is the sacrifice or the slaughter. We literally have so many things that we use it for. But I just wanted to give you a sort of hierarchy in terms of what is more expensive, right? What in terms, not just expensive on your pocket, but what is most received as expensive. So for example, we'll say that the laying out of fruit and maybe some juice and some water, we would call that maybe the equivalent of getting your grandma a bag from say TJ Maxx. And then if you do the chickens, then we say, oh, now you've gotten grandma a bag from Macy's, okay? Then now we do the goat, and we say, oh, now you've really done a good one. You've actually gotten grandma a Steve Madden bag. Now when we do the cow, you'd be like, oh, now you've really gone to Gucci and you've bought all the grandmas a Gucci purse and a Gucci bag, so a Gucci bag, Gucci belt, and some Gucci slides. Do you see? I'm hoping that my analogies are making sense to you so that when I talk about in the spiritual realm, what do these gifts translate to? Now, I've also said before that your relationship with your ancestors cannot be a strictly transactional relationship where you do X and you expect that you will get Y in return. If your intentions are purely to get stuff from them, you can slaughter 1 billion cows and nothing might happen because they see your heart. They hear you. They hear you, the you that is you. You can't do that. And you'll find that somebody who could only lay out fruit but really did it from the depths of their heart and really dug deep in their pocket and felt that pinch to give the grandmas that will get more results than you and your 1 billion cows because you were never in the right frame of mind. You never had the right intention to begin with. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I hope that this has helped at least further and deepen our understanding of the spiritual realm in terms of your bloodline ancestors. And I want to keep it that way because I don't want to then start confusing people by talking about those who work with other types of spirits and their own demands and their own specifications, which differ from spirit to spirit and differ from tradition to tradition. So I really hope that this has assisted you guys. Thank you. Somebody said, Gogo, my great ancestors led me to your life. Togoza, Ketla, Togoza. Togoza, thank you. Thank you. I hope you found value in this. If you came in and I'm ending right now, as you know, this is going to be posted right up there on the YouTube. So it's African with a K, spirituality dash Gogo Nkanyezi speaks. Please, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. Let's grow the family there because we don't know what's going to happen here because I've suddenly heard today that it is no longer the 19th of January. D-Day is no longer the 19th of January. We don't know whether they're just kicking the can further down the line and they're going to announce a new date. I don't know. I don't care anymore at this point. I'm not invested in this anymore. Whatever happens, happens. If it stays good, if it goes, I just feel bad for the millions of brothers and sisters who have thriving businesses on this app. So with that being said, family, I will be back with the next teaching. There's a lot to unpack with the ancestral, particularly when it comes to rituals and so on. But I thought I was told to come and teach about this particular one, just so that as you are also doing your own ancestral work and connecting with your ancestors, you understand just some of those basics. And until we meet next time, Tsogozeni, Magwande Naguni, love you guys very much and see you on the next one.